Hey everybody, Captain Murphy here. Unfortunately, my last video for some reason cut off the shipyard portion, so I'm going to go over that real quick. The shipyard here, I've got two ships in my squadron, and it allows you, let me also point out that this is in your town, so if you're at a town that, even if you don't own it, you can go to any town that has a harbor, and then you can use that to either sell or upgrade your ships. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the upgrade process here. To look at your ships, you can look on your left-hand side. You click on the icon here, and it shows you what ships are in your squadron at the time. So I've got a first rate, and I've got a second rate. And if you look at each one individually, they've got slightly different amounts. Like if you look at your top speed, crew, cargo, all that. The first rate is a little less maneuverable. It's a little heavier, has less cargo room. Things like that. Each one of these changes based on any of the upgrades you do to it. So right now I've got a pretty much bone stock first rate. It's running 16-pound stern guns, 12-pound bow, and you've got 3 different decks of guns. So each one of these decks has a different cannon weight. So we're looking at 12-pound cannons, 16, and then 24s. Each deck can hold different amounts. You can see here what the amount of cannons is. So we're looking at 26, 28, and then 30. Well, if you wanted to change these, you can click on the cannon. You can change between cannons or culverins. So you can also choose these. And each one of these, when you look at them, you'll see that their amounts change based on the type of cannon you choose and the weight. It doesn't really tell you anything else about it, though. It doesn't tell you that it has a certain amount of range or anything like that. It just tells you that these are 24-pound. It tells you, though, if I wanted to upgrade to 24s, it tells you that the total cost of upgrading only one cannon is $1,200, but the total cost of all cannons is $22,230. So just to do one deck of cannons is 22,000 gold in the game. Same thing goes for the larger guns. If you go to further down, you can go to larger calibers. So it starts at a 24, and then it can go up to a 42, or to a 32-pound culverin. So you can look at the 42s, they do a ton of damage. So when you get into a battle with these, I've had one class 1 upgraded all the way with all the guns. Battles are extremely fast. If you forget to put it on the grape shot one time, you're almost guaranteed to sink a ship in a volley, maybe 2. So you got to be kind of careful when you've got these 42 pounds on this deck. You're running 32 pounds on this deck, and then you're running the 24s on this one. There's a lot of firepower. So anyway, so that's how you can upgrade your cannons. I really haven't seen a need to yet. If you do, it pretty much just overpowers the enemy really bad right now. So if you do have to upgrade your crews, so if you have a boat that has a partial crew or doesn't have enough, you can go to this crew section here and bring up the crew amounts. You can hire a crew down here. If you don't have a full crew, it'll tell you what the hiring rate is, and it'll tell you how much it costs to max out your crew. You can then train the crew. I don't know if this even has a real effect yet. It may just be something that they track but doesn't actually work. But it's a basic training. If you click train, it takes whatever crew you've got on board, and then it puts them to the next level. The levels I don't think are working yet. They seem to be just way out of whack because I've had the same crew since pretty much day 1. They've got 51,000 experience points. The next level is at 750,000, which means it would take many battles to get to that point. So I don't think that's working yet. Okay, so each ship now can also be upgraded with these upgrades, and you've got these right here. So with the upgrades, you can click on this icon. You can see that there are 20 separate upgrades that are available. Each one has certain positives and negatives. Like the first one is hull cleaning. That has a positive of plus 5% max speed, 5% maneuverability, but that negative 5% cargo hold. Same thing goes for copper, increases maneuverability or maximum speed. This increases maneuverability. This increases your hull hit points but drops your maneuverability and your speed. So some of these have detriments as well as positives. 2 of these actually take effect to the entire squadron, which is pretty much the reason I bought them right now, is you've got the rigging workshop, which allows you to repair rigging and sails when you're at sea, when you carry linen in your cargo hold, and a carpentry. So this one here, if you've got wood in your inventory, then that also allows you to repair your ships out at sea, which saves you a ton of money when you come in for repairs because they can get extremely expensive after a while. Sometimes almost to the point of just replacing the vessel instead of having to repair it. So each one of these is a little bit different. Like I said, you can pick different ones. If you choose the fortified decks, it allows you to increase the cannon class for the decks. So if you are running a slightly smaller boat, like a galleon, if you choose fortified decks, you can then move up to the deck cannons that are pretty much running on class 2s. And then if you're on a class 2 and you do the fortified decks, you'll be able to run all the cannons that are just about on the class 1. So everything kind of upgrades along with it. These are kind of expensive, 27,000 gold for this. Considering that there aren't many other class 1s in the game right now, I really haven't seen the need. The one thing you will notice is this ship has up to 10 upgrades. It shows I've got 2 out of 10. If I go down to the class 2, it shows that I've only got 9 maximum. And as the smaller boats you go, the less upgrades you're going to get. That's just how it works. So anyway, this is just a real nutshell how the maneuver or the upgrades and all that work and how it applies to maneuverability and in the battles section. It has an effect, but it's not a really great effect yet. So I'm hoping that they will tweak it a little later on and make it a little bit better. But again, you can add different effects to these things. You can make one of your boats extremely maneuverable. You can make one of them just a heavy gunning ship. One of the fun ones though is the one here, which is heated shot furnace, which increases the amount of chance to set a ship on fire. So of course you can also do that. But that's just the ships themselves. Now you do have under your character, which is a little different. It looks just like Warband. You've got your strength, agility, intelligence, and charisma, and every time you add one of these, it can affect the amounts that these are allowed to go up to. So if you have, like now, I've got intelligence of 28, that means I can go up to a 9 in certain ones that are based off of the intelligence. If you look in the top right, I've got my current level of 9, and my base attribute is intelligence. So these affect what these are allowed to go up to. Pretty neat little system, because then you have to really focus on certain things. One thing I do like is if you go up in intelligence, it adds 2 skill points for every level. If you go up in all the rest of them, you only get 1 skill point per level. So in the very beginning, I always crank my intelligence up maxed out so I can get all of my strategic and tactical items all the way up, and then later on I'll move up to strength and agility so that I can move up and get certain things like the iron flesh and power strike, so I can actually really get into the battles by hand. The one thing that has been added though is these traits over here. So I'm not sure when this happens, maybe at a certain point, but you get trait points. And as you use the trait points up, you can buy things. So right now I don't have any trait points, I've pretty much used them all up. But as you go along, you can add certain features like the Born Leader, that adds +3 to maximum company size. I've got Hot Shot, adds 3 accuracy. And as you go up, the cost, you can see that these cost 2 points right here. The cost will increase. So for Musketeer Captain, it has about 2 points. But Battery Commander cost me 3 points. So the higher you go, the more costly they become. And the base requirements go up. You have to be a level 9 plus in order to get this. And as you get up and up and up, it's going to cost you level 12 plus Seafaring and Naval Tactics or Naval Combating Tactics. So just the higher you go, the more costly they become, until you can finally get to these last 2 up here, which cost 8 points and then 10 points. So it takes you quite a bit to get up there. And you can see that it requires a level 30 plus, a tactics of 6, a training of 6, a horse riding of 6. They are pretty costly. The return on them, like on Cavalry General, unless you plan on sitting on the land almost the entire time, it really doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, because most of the time you want a hand-to-hand combat person, not a cavalry unit. But anyway, you know, we are playing kind of a sea game. The Sea King one does look kind of fun because you get a +3 battle advantage off the start, and those normally cost you 2 tactical points in order to go up 1 battle advantage. This is essentially the same as having +3 with your tactical, which means if you have a 10 tactical, that gets you 5, and then you get 3 more +8. That increases the number of men you can have on the battlefield in relation to the enemy's amounts. Pretty useful item. And of course, that's also for land phase, you get a +2. So, you know, these things can become useful. And like this one here, you can increase the chances of starting a fire. You couple that with the hot shot on there and one of the other ones further down. You can pretty much almost guarantee catching fire to a vessel. To go against that, you can actually add your own, which is Firefighter, which allows you to stop a fire on your vessel, which is one of the first things I got because I constantly had my boats catching on fire. So anyway, that's what the traits look like. They're pretty neat. I like the system set up with the traits and how they correspond to advantages in the game. So that's just a quick rundown of ship upgrades and your character upgrades. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks.